Hello and welcome to my kitchen. If you are new here, my name is Kira and I have had celiac.
Kira, I'm your mom.
And I have had celiac disease for over 15 years. So I have a lot of experience making gluten-free foods, but I have recently developed many sourdough gluten-free recipes that I am very happy to share with you. And today that recipe is for gluten-free sourdough pizza cups. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow along for many more gluten-free sourdough recipes. As I jump right into getting out materials for these pizza cups, I want to preface this recipe with this. You can make these pizza cups as easy or as complicated as you would like them to be. I am pulling out all of the stops and I am going to totally load up these pizza cups. However, this can be a very simple, easy recipe for you. All you need to have is sourdough starter, some pre-made pizza sauce, shredded cheese in a bag, and some muffin tins. Once I have all of my materials out, I will preheat my oven to 425 and get started. Today I'm going to make 24 pizza cups with 2 different sauces on them, so I will get out my muffin tins and my silicone liners for them. I have never used the paper liners, but I do know that the silicone ones work wonderful for this. Go ahead and take your sourdough and scrape down the sides. You could use an active, super bubbly sourdough, or you can use discard that you have pulled right out of the fridge. Once you do that, you will grab a liner in one hand, take a decent sized scoop with a spoon, put it into the liner, and then you will gently spread the sourdough up the sides of the silicone liner. At this point, you're going to go ahead and repeat the process for every single cup. So you will put it in, spread it up the sides, and move on to the next one. I have tried it before where I leave the silicone liners in the tray, and it is possible, but I felt like it was much easier to just hold it in my hand while I was doing it. To do 24 of these usually takes me about 8 to 10 minutes. If I'm moving slowly, I could probably get it done a little bit faster if I sped up the process like this. You don't want to have too large of a dollop left in the bottom of the liner once you have spread it up the sides, because otherwise it will puff up too large whenever you go to bake. Sometimes after sitting a few moments, you will notice that some of them have the sourdough starting to seep back down on the sides. So before I take them over to the oven, I just take my spoon and scoop back up the sides on any cups that look like that. After that, very simple, you just toss them in the oven and set your timer for 15 minutes. In that 15 minutes, I go ahead and get started on sauces. Now, like I said, if you want to use a store-made sauce, you just pour it right in and you totally skip all of these steps. But otherwise, on our 2 sauces today, our first one's going to be olive oil based. So I added a 1/4 cup of olive oil. I will add a couple handfuls of kale to it, and I'm also going to dice up some fresh cilantro and throw it in there too. My one son does not really like tomato-based sauces, and despite the fact that I try to get him to eat the tomato sauce, he always requests the olive oil sauce. So once you have your kale in and your cilantro in, you will also add in some Italian spices. Whatever you have in your pantry will work great. Sometimes I do basil, oregano, garlic powder, and so on. You can really choose whatever path you want to take with this sauce. This is a great point to throw in any other add-ins like garlic or onion that you want minced up very small in your sauce. I have a mini food processor attachment, which is what I'm using right now, that is attached to my immersion blender. It works absolutely perfect for making little sauces. If you do not have something like this, you'll want to use a regular food processor, which I will also pull out later in the video. If you do not have a food processor, your next best option would probably be to use a blender. However, you might need to double or triple the recipe for it to get properly blended up. I also forgot to add in at this point, which you'll see me throw in a second, some sugar. If you don't want any added sugar, that's perfectly fine, but my kids like something a little extra sweet, so I usually take about a tablespoon of cane sugar and dump that right in there. So once I've dumped it in, I give it one more little blend and then it is ready to go. This sauce makes enough for all 12 cups, and then I move on to my next sauce, which is a tomato base. Since my son doesn't like the tomato, I do the tomato sauce second. I will add about a half a can of tomato paste into it. That is about 3 ounces of tomato paste. Similarly to my other recipe, I will add a lot of the same ingredients. I add a dash of olive oil to it, some Italian spices, garlic, paprika, oregano, basil, some fresh cilantro, a couple handfuls of kale, some salt and pepper, and a little bit of sugar. In my opinion, at this point, everything is to taste. While these aren't the most specific instructions, everyone definitely has a different palate. My family prefers things heavily spiced, and I know others do not. So do what feels right to you and just adjust from there. It's that simple. Once we have made our wonderful tomato sauce, we will set it to the side. And by this point, your pizza cup should be ready to pull out of the oven, and your sourdough will be baked and ready to load up. We spent the 15 minutes while they were baking making our sauces, and this is the point where we add all of our toppings on. I prefer to buy cheese blocks, so this is where I pull out my full-size food processor and I will shred up the 2 blocks of cheese so that it's ready to go onto the top. And I will prep any other toppings that I want on the pizza. The possibilities are endless. In the past, we've added mushrooms or olives or onions, and today we're going to add some turkey onto the top of it. So I will dice up the turkey into small little bite-sized pieces so that it's easy to put on top of the pizza cups. After this, we go ahead and start assembling. Leave the sourdough cups in the tray and bring your entire tray over to your work area. You are going to put all of your toppings underneath of your cheese so that they will stay in place and not fall off as they bake. The very first thing you want to do is spread your sauce in it. I usually take about a tablespoon, a good scoop's worth, and spread it into each of the cups. After you have spread that into each of the cups, this is where you will add your toppings. So today, like I said, I am just doing turkey, but other days I have done other toppings and your possibilities are endless. So whatever you like on your pizza, go ahead and throw into there now. On top of that, you will add cheese. Now, you do not want to go light with the cheese. If you're a cheese lover like myself, this goes without saying, but you want to grab a large amount of cheese for each pizza cup. I shredded 2 8-ounce blocks of cheese for my 24 pizza cups, so each set of 12 has an entire block of 8-ounce cheese on top. You can choose whatever cheese you like. I tend to prefer using a sharp cheddar. Sometimes we've done mozzarella like a traditional pizza, but my children love the taste of cheese as much as I do, so we stick with sharp cheddar cheese. We are now on to the next sauce, which is our olive oil and kale-based sauce. So go ahead and distribute it evenly amongst each pizza cup and add your toppings, whatever toppings you have chosen. If you wanted to keep this simple, remember you could just add pizza sauce and cheese and you would be done already. But I'm going to add a nice amount of cheese again onto each one. They might be overflowing some, and that's perfectly fine. You can almost put the cheese into a little ball and then squish it on top of each pizza cup because it will melt down in the oven and turn out wonderfully. My oven is still set at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, so once I have the trays completely loaded up, I take them back over to the oven and put them in to bake for another 5 minutes. This does not take long because we are simply melting the cheese and warming up all of the toppings on the inside. While those are baking, I usually start on a side if I want to make this for dinner, and my children love Brussels sprouts. It is their absolute favorite food, so we cook up some Brussels sprouts with it. The great thing about these pizza cups is that if you don't want to eat them for dinner, they make a wonderful freezer meal. You just put them into the freezer, take them out when you want to eat, and pop them into a toaster oven or into your oven, and they are absolutely ready to go. We have done this for lunches, and it works out wonderful. I've even taken it to potlucks to travel since they're individual sized cups. Everyone absolutely loves it. After the 5 minutes, you will take them out and put them into your broiler. If you don't have a separate broiler area like my oven does, then you could turn on your broiler and you will broil them for 5 minutes. If you don't like your cheese browned on top and crispy, then you could just keep them in the oven as they were, but we like our cheese a little crispy on the top. Because my husband knows that I love cheese, and obviously these were not cheesy enough as is, he went ahead and threw some Parmesan on top. So if you're feeling like you want something extra cheesy, you're welcome to take that step as well. Now, this is the point that I recommend you wait about 5 to 10 minutes before trying to remove them from the silicone cups. Especially if you want to freeze these, you will want to make sure that they are completely cooled before you put them in the freezer. However, I was making these pizza cups for dinner, and I have a bunch of little children that were very hungry. So if you would like to pop them out right away, you are more than welcome to do so. Just know that your hands will probably be like mine and they will feel like they are on fire. These things can get very, very hot if you do not give them the time to rest. If for whatever reason you find that you're having a hard time popping them out of the mold, you can always take a fork and put it down in the side of the silicone cup to help it pop right out. These pizza cups have become a staple in our household. I have 3 children under the age of 5, and they love pizza as much as I do and all things cheesy. So we make these often. We will put them in the freezer and pull them out for lunches or eat them like this just for dinner. My pizza cups were made using King Arthur's 1-to-1 gluten-free flour, which is what I am feeding my sourdough starter with. You could absolutely make this recipe with a regular sourdough starter, but it's such a simple substitute to make them gluten-free, and anyone that has celiacs knows that it can be hard to come by gluten-free sourdough recipes. I hope that you and your family enjoy these tasty, simple sourdough pizza cups just as much as mine does. Happy cooking!